1883 aired its final episode in February 2022, and since then, there's been no word on whether or not the show will be returning for another season. But if you're still craving some Western action, I got you covered. Let's look at some behind-the-scenes stories about 1883 and more.
Who are you gonna protect?
I guess I'll protect who needs protecting.
First, let's see why the year 1883 is so important. The year 1883 was a major turning point when it came to the world of, well, 1883. And if you've been watching the show, you'll know why. On March 1st, 1872, President Ulysses S. Grant signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act into law. This made Yellowstone National Park the first of its kind in the world, and it included hot springs, geysers, and diverse wildlife. However, even though Yellowstone was established as a national park in 1872, it wasn't until 11 years later, in 1883, that the construction of the Northern Pacific Railroad finally reached Yellowstone. This made travel to the park easier and more accessible, and it also opened up the area for more settlers. So, as you can see, 1883 marks an important time in U.S. history. It's a period of transition from a wild frontier to a settled America, and this is exactly what viewers get to experience when watching 1883, the trials and tribulations of the people living on the American frontier during this time.
Good Night's Ranch ain't crazy far. Neither is Buck Barnett's.
That country's too rough. In the wrong direction.
So, it's clear that the show 1883 is based on a groundbreaking moment in U.S. history. But how do they bring this story to life? Well, if you've been watching, you'll know that the producers filmed many of their scenes in Fort Worth, Texas. That's right, all those thrilling saloon brawls and cattle drives were filmed in the heart of Texas. Let's take a look at what makes this place so special. Fort Worth, Texas has a rich history that dates back over 150 years. In fact, many of the scenes from 1883 were filmed in the Fort Worth Stockyards Historic District. It's also home to the White Elephant Saloon, which you often see on the show. The White Elephant Saloon is a legendary part of 1883, and it turns out that the historic bar still exists today. Owned by Tim Love, a celebrity chef and TV personality, this place is an absolute must-see for anyone visiting Fort Worth. Originally located in Hell's Half Acre, the White Elephant Saloon has been around since the late 1800s. It lay dormant for a while until it was moved to the historic Stockyards in 1970, and since then, the White Elephant has become an iconic part of Fort Worth and a major tourist attraction. This 98-acre area was listed in the National Register of Historic Places as Fort Worth Stockyards Historic District in 1976 and includes 46 buildings and one structure. So when you're watching 1883, you can feel like you're stepping into the Wild West. Sure, it may not actually be Montana, where the story of the show takes place, but at least it captures the look and feel of the show.
You gotta learn sometime.
I don't disagree. Just not sure keeping our food from running off is the time. Sure could use y'all.
So, while 1883 may be more fiction than it is fact, the show does its best to stay true to history and capture the spirit of the post-Louisiana Purchase era. To do this, the show's producers were sure to include a few real-life figures as minor characters in their story. Of course, even these characters were given a slight twist to make them more interesting and engaging. The show also does its best to keep in line with the history of this period, such as the events leading up to and following the Louisiana Purchase. As viewers, we get an exciting glimpse into what life was like for these settlers during this time, from their struggles to their joys. It is amazing how the show 1883 is able to bring life to this period of U.S. history in a way that feels authentic and entertaining at the same time. One thing that producers couldn't manage to make accurate in the show was everyone's teeth.
What do you think it is?
Same thing you think it is.
Now, please don't get me wrong, every actor had perfect pearly whites, which just isn't realistic for someone living in 1883. Dentistry was a thing back then, and while it wasn't as popular as it is today, it was too expensive for the average person to consider. Producers thought about using prosthetics or CGI to make this minor inaccuracy more realistic, but ultimately, that would have taken way too much time and effort. So at the end of the day, we just had to accept that everyone in the show had perfect teeth, and just pretend that it was totally normal to have a perfect set of teeth in 1883. Hey, at least we can appreciate all the effort producers put into making the show as accurate to the time period as possible. It's no wonder why so many viewers have fallen in love with this series and are eager for more episodes.
That's good. How's the pain? It's there. but not like it was.
Another reason why viewers want more of the show is that it's just so damn unpredictable. All of the deaths certainly play a huge part in it. One of the most shocking ones was that of Elsa, and there's actually an interesting story behind it. Unfortunately, we all knew the story was doomed to end tragically, even if it seemed a bit too sudden and unexpected at the time. It turns out that Taylor Sheridan had intended for Elsa's death to be part of the show from the very start, not just for shock value, but to create a memorable and heartbreaking storyline. He gave viewers a false sense of security with her character, which made her death all the more traumatic when it happened. The opening scene of 1883 showed Elsa taking an arrow shot to the stomach. We naturally assumed she would survive this, but it turns out that the arrow was actually the cause of her death. It's a heartbreaking twist, but it serves to further impact the series in a meaningful way. We all fell in love with her character fairly quickly, didn't we?
It's all good pasture to the west.
Are we gonna hide him in a canyon up north?
Hide him. Hide him from who?
One thing you may have noticed about Elsa Dutton is her impressive horseback riding skills. She stands out from the rest of the characters because she rides with a different style than the others, specifically an English style. While this wasn't something viewers were able to pick up on during the first season of 1883, it becomes more evident as the show progresses. The fact that the show is even able to include these tiny little details goes to show just how much attention the writers and, more importantly, the trainers put into it. If there's one character that'll forever be linked to Elsa, it's Cowboy Ennis. But believe it or not, Cowboy Ennis was always just a plot device. He's portrayed as a comic relief character for the series and is given very little backstory throughout his journey, despite appearing in 5 episodes. His primary purpose is to move Elsa's storyline forward. We first meet Ennis and Wade in a saloon, where they meet Cowboy Shea Brennan. Although Ennis was just a plot device, he ended up becoming one of the best parts of the show. His comedic relief and charming personality made him a fan favorite from the start. You could always count on him to lighten the mood, which is why everyone was so shocked when his time came to an end. When Eric Nelson, the actor who played Cowboy Ennis, first signed up for the show, he had absolutely no idea his character was going to die. All he was given upon shooting was the first episode script. It wasn't until after that episode was filmed did he receive the rest of the scripts and find out his fate. Naturally, Eric was disappointed with the news, but he was glad that his character died a hero. Ennis's death still stands as one of the most tear-jerking moments in the show, and fans were so broken up when they saw him go. It just goes to show how well written this character was. Cowboy Ennis will forever remain a fan favorite. That's it for today. See you in the next one.